Many people have been led to believe that, although the Bible is full of interesting stories, its history is mythological and made up, with no archaeological support. This series is dedicated to those who need help dislodging that dubious claim. Hi there. My last video explained why ancient records of the night sky, compared with modern astronomy-related computer software, can lead to better dating of the ancient world. But it does make some changes for when we find certain pharaohs. This new arrangement is called the New Chronology. If you haven't seen it yet and you're curious, watch the video titled New versus Orthodox Egyptian Chronology. So, based on the New Chronology's reconfiguration of when you will find Neferhotep I in the 13th dynasty, that is, in the 1500s BC, and then based on how the Bible paces the timeline of Joseph moving into Egypt, the Israelites prospering, falling into slavery, leaving Egypt and conquering the Promised Land, setting up a united kingdom and then a divided one, we should expect, if we reverse engineer it, to find Joseph to have been the vizier to one of the last pharaohs of the 12th dynasty, around the time of Amenemhat III. Amenemhat was the longest ruling king of the 12th dynasty, and during his reign, Egypt suffered a terrible and prolonged famine, which seems to have been caused by severe flooding from the Nile, not no rain. You can actually see the difference in statues of him and his father. Instead of the casual and almost glad-looking faces of pharaohs, he has bags under his eyes, his body is gaunt, his mouth is turned downward, and his ears are wide open, facing his people, a sign of listening to the needs of his population and being humbled. There is evidence of major reorganization of Egypt's administration during the reign of Amenemhat III to combat high floods and famine. Land actually seems to have been confiscated, and a Department of State was set up to take in stores of food for rationing. On the southern border of Egypt, just to the south of the River Nile's second cataract, two fortresses were guarding entrance into Egypt, one on each side of the Nile. They were strategic for defense and also nearby some important gold mines. They were fortresses created in the 12th dynasty under Senuseret I and II, but their role of monitoring the high water marks of the Nile became crucial under Amenemhat III and his father Senuseret III. Towards the end of the 12th dynasty, recorded on the cliff face in the gorge by the Nile, officials recorded a dramatic rise in the Nile flood levels. The average flood would have reached 40 feet up, but in year 3 of Amenemhat III, water levels began to increase up to a consistent 55 feet mark, likely bringing large amount of rich soil to Lower Egypt. But in year 20, the flood peak rose to 69 feet, producing 4 times the amount of water normally expected and inundating the Nile Valley with so much water you would not be able to sow or reap the fields. Temples were flooded, and agriculture basically ground to a halt. The records on the cliffside show that it happened over and over, and did not reach a normal level until around year 32 of his reign. The local rulers called nomarchs had grown rich and powerful in the 12th dynasty. They had huge tombs like pharaohs and obvious riches. But around the reign of Amenemhat III, all that stopped, indicating a sudden decline in the fortunes of local landowners. You could call it fortuitous, or even lucky, that in the years of rich soil deposits, the new administration set up a conscript workforce for careful production of land, even imposing a grain tax in good years, and the construction of granaries. Even a remarkable project began to divert water away from the Nile, a hand-dug canal branching water away from the Nile and creating a large reservoir, in classical literature called Lake Moeris, but may have derived from something like Nemoaria, closely related to the coronation name of Amenemhat III. At the spot where the desert plateau overlooks this channel is where Amenemhat III built his pyramid and famous labyrinth. Locals have called this canal Bahar Yusuf, as far back as they can remember. This video is getting too long, so join us next time as we explore the Egyptian records of who was the royal vizier in this time period, and whether there is evidence of northerners from Syria moving into the region. I hope this was interesting and encouraging to you. But remember, the question is not, can we prove everything in the Bible? The question rather should be, Where there is archaeological evidence, does it in fact support biblical witness or not? Thank you for watching.